Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, New England. Good morning, worldwide. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. We have more signals coming for you on the AM FM side if you like it to do it that way. 98.1 FM over on the Seacoast of New Hampshire, Seacoast of Southern Maine, as well as 1270 AM. Lakes region, we have you covered with our WEMJ AM and FM, WTPL 107.7 FM, and of course, a new signal in the Lakes region, 98.3 FM. High def, if you like that digital clarity. Everywhere else, hey Alexa, hey Google, play the Pulse of an H. So, J Dog, we are looking at, you ready? You need to sit down for this one. Near 50 tomorrow for a high. Wednesday, near 50. Unbelievable. Milder, even milder this week. What do you call it? Yeah, we need a couple days at 50. We'll call that a heat wave. It's been a real New England winter. All right. Icicles finally melting, hopefully. Watch out for the black ice in the driveways still. I'm hearing a lot of people slipping and sliding out there on their own driveways. Just check out the hospitals and the medical centers, the doctor's offices. A lot of people slipping and sliding right in their own home. Be careful. Also, I don't know if people driving know what the word yield means. Hearing from some of our listeners. What's that? What? I know. Why is that? I know they don't give way, they don't yield, they don't slow down. And like if there's two lane, most of these traffics are I go through two or three of them sometimes when I'm coming to the capital region in Lee and other places, and you go around them and they don't even they're coming in the other way. They have yield on both sides. They don't slow down. They don't yield. You know what they got to do? I'm telling you, they're going to have to put stop signs in rotaries because people aren't smart enough to drive with a brain. How's that one for you? Wake you up a little bit. All right. Hey, we got a lot going on. Going to hear from some of our political contributors. Mike Dennehy with a State House update. John Decker, our own White House question, really a subject or theme of today's show is should federal workers have to justify their own jobs? Yes or no? Now, these emails out from Elon Musk to federal workers saying, just give us 5 reasons why in the last week you think you've done a good job. Federal workers not liking this. Unions not liking this. It's our poll question on X today. Should federal workers have to justify their jobs? Yes or no? Simple, straight up. We'll come back to what you think about Governor Mills in a moment. But should federal workers have to justify their jobs? Yes or no? Now, the Trump administration, some agencies like FBI saying, this is a voluntary response. It's not mandatory. But a lot of people in the federal agency, they're not liking this, having to say what they're doing good on the job, why they should keep doing the job. It's really an amazing reaction in the body of politics when you start treating government like a privately run business. Oh my goodness. By the way, guess how much all this efficiency stuff has already saved taxpayers or saving taxpayers? Almost $70 billion. Almost 70 billion. They haven't even gotten to the Pentagon yet. J-Dog, our results from yesterday, is Trump right or Governor Mills of Maine when it comes to respecting the federal order to not allow men to compete in women's sports? The answer, J-Dog. Yeah. That'll be the point of some commentary, I guess. I was thinking about this. I'm going to come back to the federal worker stuff in a moment. And, there's a couple themes here, I guess. A couple themes at work this morning. And one of them on Governor Mills. So this is under the category of with Governor Mills as I get going. So Maine taxpayers, Maine voters, they have a budget crisis in Maine. They don't know how to cut spending there. So Governor Mills is going to raise taxes, I think even on prescription medications. But she wants to fight on the Hill of allowing men to compete in women's sports and take on President Trump and his federal order. And, I love how people on the far left in the New York Times say, oh, Governor Mills, one of the few governors or people out there, the Democrat side, standing up to Donald Trump. She's standing up to Trump on the Hill of allowing men to play in women's sports. 90% of the people out there don't think that's right. So if that's the hill you want to fight and die on, Governor, versus like balancing your budget and cutting spending, go ahead. Maybe Trump was right. We'll see what elected political office you get to next. But I think it's interesting. The state of Maine, Janet Mills. It's I don't know, pick and choose your battles in life, I guess. That's one of the things I want to talk about. The other one I wanted to mention that I think is interesting. So I'm watching all this federal worker reaction stuff. I'm watching the reaction of actually I'm watching the reaction of Washington to all the efficiency stuff. But I think it's interesting as we get going this morning. If you look at how much the Doge and Musk team and Trump team have already saved taxpayers, it's upwards of $70 billion. But I'm watching the federal government, and I guess if I'd been there for 20 years as a federal employee, working from home the last 4 years, not even going to the building, I wouldn't like an email asking me to justify my job and tell someone like Elon Musk 5 things I've done well in my job. But in the private sector, we hold employees accountable. We have meetings, productivity, sales goals, quotas. But at the federal government, oh my goodness, they're reacting like, oh, this is an affront, asking us to justify our jobs. We're a federal employee; they should be automatic. Well, guess what? This is the first time Washington has really been shaken up, and look at how much the body of politics doesn't like this at all. The political body rejects any of this probing, any of this poking. And it's the old saying that we always say, you know what Washington or politics need is a business person to get in there and run it like a business. So voters like that, right? But Washington doesn't like that. Oh, no, 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 no. You're not going to come in here and start poking around my budget. And here we go. By the way, I won't even tell you that we're paying more interest on our $36 trillion in debt as much as the entire Pentagon budget. By the way, Pete Hegseth, new Pentagon boss, wants to cut at least $50 billion, $50 billion just from the Pentagon. They've already saved upwards of $70 billion overall. So there's just a couple of things that are absolutely, I think, funny during this whole process. Is one, when Democrats like Elizabeth Warren and others are now, running around, the Democrats. Well, mainly like Elizabeth Warren, some of the Democrats running around still. The Elon Musk and these Doge people, they're not even elected by the people. But yet President Trump was elected to be president. He appointed Musk and this team, Doge, to find upwards of $70 billion in efficiency and savings and waste. And yet all the staff members of these senators are not elected. They're basically staff members, and they write laws. They actually write the legislation. Do you think a senator or a member of Congress, don't you know who I am? Do you think they write the legislation like the House is voting on this budget deal right now that passed the Senate for border security and some other things? Do you think they write the senators? They don't even read the legislation. This is the ultimate. I guess the saying is, this is the ultimate kick in the shins on all this outcry from Democrats that Elon Musk is not even elected. Who is he to come in here and ask to see taxpayer spending information? Who is this guy? Their staffs are not even elected who write laws and legislation. Do you think senators like McConnell and any of the representatives in Washington, any of them, do you think they write their own laws? They don't even read the legislation they vote on. So non-elected staff members write the legislation. But oh no, when it comes to looking at how much we're spending, we've already saved upwards of $70 billion in this process. The Pentagon wants to save $50 billion. We're getting up over $1 trillion before you know it in government waste. And really, no one has a good reason why it's not a good idea to do. No one's really produced a reason why it's not a good idea to save taxpayers money from waste. So I just, all this hypocrisy is just shouldn't surprise anyone. It shouldn't surprise anyone. It is so typical, especially when you poke the bear of politics. 603-228-2080. We come back. One of the great ones, Mike Dennehy, on some political stuff. Then John Decker, our own White House correspondent, trying to make sense and reacting to federal workers having to justify their jobs in an email on 5 things that they did good. on their jobs. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a few. All right, we are back, and want to just check in with one of the great ones, Mike Dennehy Belay Group, joining us this morning. How are you, Michael? Well, I'm okay. I mean, no one gives a damn, but I'm doing okay. I appreciate. Hey, before we get going, I've been noticing you're doing some great updates on your nonprofit to help people in terms of housing and living. Elaborate on that for a minute. I, I, I love it. It's great to have a purpose. How can people help you get involved? Okay, hold on, hold on. So you're looking for what? Furniture? What do you mean wardrobes? Like furniture, like bureaus? Oh, okay. So anyone out there that wants to give a nice wardrobe to Mike Dennehy and his group, his nonprofit, what's the best way to contact you? Nextstepliving.org. I love it. Well, guess what? We're gonna hold on. We got a lot of listeners out there, a lot of business owners. Wardrobes. If you have some wardrobes, how many are you looking for? 12. If you have like a dozen or so, 10 or 12, or access to that, and you want to help, what's the cost of a wardrobe if you're going to buy one? So like 6 or 7 thousand bucks is what you're looking for. All right, all right. So if you want to help out, one more time the website, and we'll move on to politics. Awesome stuff. Well, thank you. By the way, we have a great listener, Margaret, saying if you talk to Julie Weymouth and Homeland Heroes, we're already getting responses from our listeners. Okay, Homeland Heroes, Margaret Culp, who does so much listening to you right now. Thank you, Margaret. Homeland Heroes in New Hampshire. Homeland, all one word, Heroes. Julie Weymouth is the executive director. Margaret, maybe you could help me. Just let Julie know that Mike's going to reach out. I don't have the number here, but you can go to their website. Homeland Heroes, Michael. Use use my name and Marga's. Tell you're looking for a dozen wardrobes. Homeland Heroes. They do great stuff. All furniture. A good group, by the way, for you to be aware of. All right, Marga, doing your angelic stuff. Michael, we spent a few moments on that, but it's important. Let's talk about politics. What's going on locally before we get to? I got to ask you a quick question, though. You, of all people, are not surprised. Now, I don't think anyone after November 5th, except for the Trump team, knew how serious he was on delivering on what he was talking about. Promises made, promises kept on change. I don't think anyone, certainly in Washington, saw this coming. But look at the reaction of federal employees and the bureaucracy with, oh, Musk and his team, they're not elected. Yeah, okay, your staff members that write laws that you never read and vote on are not elected. And then who are they to come in here and do this? Can you believe the childish reaction on saving taxpayers money? We're up to almost 70 billion in savings, and we're not even at the Pentagon. Hexeth wants to save 50. That's over $1 trillion. Michael, people in the private sector, at least once a week on any Salesforce or any job where you're performance driven, at least a week will have to speak with a manager or a team. I mean, even my own radio show each week on Wednesdays, we just have a team huddle, a team meeting. What are we doing right? What did we do right last week? What are we doing wrong? J-Dog, who can we get? We got a great young singer coming on today named Dakota from New Hampshire in the 11 o'clock hour. Let's get more interviews like that. We do that all the time. Sales, sponsors. What's it's called Driven Workplace. Yep. Yep. No. No. And you know why, Michael? No one in Washington wanted to change a blank damn thing. No one. No one in Washington really wanted to change anything. How many times have I interviewed presidential candidates or had the blessing in the past to sit with presidents? And I remember Bill Clinton telling me this once. Washington doesn't want to be changed. People on the outside always run and say, I'm going to bring some New Hampshire values to Washington. Okay. And then what happens is, and I think the late John McCain would have told you this, Washington really doesn't want to change. It's just all BS. It sounds good when you run. It sounds good when you run. And you know what's funny how stupid the system is? You get in there, Michael, and you know this better than anyone. In fact, you know it secondhand. You get in there, and it's all about seniority and power. So Michael Dennehy is a representative from New Hampshire. He just got elected. Your party whip or your party bosses are going to tell you where your office is, what floor, how you're going to vote, how you're going to be a good kid in there, what you're going to say, who you're going to raise money from. They tell you everything. It's like you have no independence when you get in there. And it's all based on seniority and powerful ranking stuff. And everyone feeds off it. And the lobbyist who used to work for, the Clinton administration, run around with cufflinks and cell phones, making 800 grand a year, setting up meetings, going to the bars, going to the Capitol Grill at 4 o'clock. Washington is a cesspool. Washington is a cesspool. And you know what? And it's finally getting shaken up, and they don't really like it. Yeah. And I love it how forcing this washing machine a little bit and some of the old people that have been there 50 years. I don't think I'm going to run again. I don't think I'm going to run again. I'm tired of falling down these stairs in here. I like my 50. And by the way, Michael, how does someone in the US Senate who's paid a couple hundred grand a year, with today that doesn't go as far, how are they worth 75 million after 20 years of being in the Senate? No, no, I'm asking you. If anyone, you would know. How does that happen? My own kid said, Dad, why do you like that documentary on Martha Stewart on Netflix called Martha so much? Do you have like a crush on her? I'm like, no, you're my better, smarter, prettier half is prettier than Martha, your mom. But I'll tell you this, I respect her. And they'll say, why? Well, she was a woman in a men's world. Whether or not she knowingly or not broke the stock information on insider trading, she did her time. She maybe cried a little bit, but she went to jail and did her time. She came out stronger and better, and she's successful. Nancy Pelosi in Washington, no one in Congress goes really to prison for insider trading on stock deals, and they're voting on industry changing stuff like semiconductor chips, and then all of a sudden a month later they make $800,000 on buying or selling a stock in semiconductor, computer chips, and no one asked anything. But Martha Stewart did her time. She went to jail for 5 months. Or yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, Trump. Yeah. On some of the way stuff, how he's going at this deal making to end the war in Ukraine. She says he's appeasing he's appeasing Putin and the Russians and not Zelensky and respecting Ukraine. So there you go. All right, Michael. By the way, Marga did send this in homelandheroes.org. So just like it sounds is the website. She's gonna give a heads up to Julie Weymouth, homelandheroes.org. All right, we come back. Keep going. Our own White House correspondent, John Decker, on next. Should federal employees have to justify their jobs? What's going on? That's our poll question on X today. Back in a moment. You can come at this way on the federal worker sort of showdown over efficiency. Accountability is a word that's not used a lot. But boy, I'll tell you, unions and a lot of people are not liking any of this stuff, including having to send an email, voluntary or not, on 5 things you've done well, and all the review, the probationary federal workers basically being laid off, big sweeping changes, and Washington doesn't like it much. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, federal employees having to justify their jobs. John, good morning. Yeah. And that's fair, and they're not used to that, obviously, like the private sector. But it's interesting. I'm not saying that I have a degree in Trump psychology, but that confusion is almost the waters that President Trump likes to navigate in, almost creating the confusion. And it's interesting. What I wonder, John, on a more not cerebral level, but just more dynamic, is you have two very strong wills and minds in Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and this role where the president has appointed him to head up Doge. And you just look at how short attention span Elon Musk has. They're both business people at the heart of it. Trump has become a better political power, obviously, than Musk. You wonder how long this sort of happy marriage between the two of them, with confusing points like this, because their egos, both you don't become the richest person in the world or the leader of the free world by not having an ego or a sense of what you want, correct? Well, well, you're down there more than me. That's your job. You do a great job covering the White House. You've covered several, but so don't say a month or two from now, "Oh, Jack said this," because this is what I predict. I'm not saying they won't get along. You know what's going to happen though? Donald Trump is not going to get bored in the next 4 years. Elon Musk is going to get bored. Musk once he gets through the Pentagon, once there's no big agencies left, once most of the haircutting has happened, he's going to want to dive into his car or come up with a new way to land a rocket sideways. This guy, his mind, if you watch him when he talks on interviews non-related to politics, his mind and his brain are going 80 miles per hour ahead of the vehicle. And he's going to get bored. He's going to get bored. He's going to get bored. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah, today. Today. I mean yesterday. Yeah. 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 Yeah, a month and a day yesterday. John, I had on yesterday someone you work with well in the White House press corps, Caroline Levitt, called into my show at the top of the show talking about this flap with Governor Mills in Maine and some other things. And at the end of the interview, because she was busy, so it was a 10-minute, I didn't want to hold her. Um, I just 30 seconds, you know me, I wanted to use the time. I said, Caroline, it's been just over a month, youngest press secretary in history for a president. What's the most surprising thing after the first month? Just give me one surprising. And she actually sort of paused and laughed. And you know what she said? She took her a second, which with her is never happens. She goes, there's like three or four things a day. She goes, but I'll tell you the most surprising thing. I'll tell you what it is. You know what she said? Him, him. In other words, the president. She said, I can't believe, because I've worked in the first White House in a junior role. I've been in here. I can't believe, whether it's the weekend coming out of a night, I can't believe the energy and the drive he has. That's the most, he's even surprised me. And I know him pretty well from the campaign. Him. That's the most surprising thing. Yeah. Thanks, John. Have a good one. John Decker. Thank you. It's interesting. Sometimes when you're trying to pump yourself up, and let's face it, we're in New England and it's been kind of a real winter. It is staying light later. I saw that on a walk yesterday. It was 5:30. I'm out with my dog. It still wasn't dark. We got milder temperatures tomorrow. You can start cleaning off your golf clubs. Going to get up to near 50, but plenty of snow and ice is melting out there. But you know my point. It's been a real winter. And so sometimes you get down and you think about this, and I'm just trying to be apolitical for a second. Donald Trump is almost 80 years old, and look at the real energy. Now, the Biden people BS'd us when they said that he wasn't that old or confused and he was running circles around all of them. That was a bunch of BS. We know that, okay? I don't think Joe Biden has run anywhere in a while. Um, in terms of actually this kind of pace. We've never seen this, never seen it near 80 years old. And I don't know about you, and I mean this completely sincerely. I don't know about you. I can't even see myself because I don't want to rush things. You know, 15 whatever years down the road, whatever the number is. I can't even picture where I'm going to be at that point. And I mean that I'm not being a wise guy. I can't even picture what my energy levels. I don't know if I'll be here because health is wealth, and none of us should take that for granted. You know, I stopped by one of our great sponsors the other day, and I was just talking about, you know, just health, and they were talking about. I don't want to say the story because I haven't read it and it's private, but let's just say someone. I mentioned the black ice at your home, the ice in the driveway. Someone slipped in their home, fairly young person, athletic. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. Slipped, cracked their head open, and passed away. You don't know if you're gonna be a no, none of us do. I mean, drive these vehicles every day. J-Dog and I were just talking earlier how no one knows how to yield on the roadways in a rotary. No one knows how to yield. What is going on? So you don't know every day when you go out there or at your own home. I'm just not trying to be a downer, but you don't know the future. None of us do. But my point is, if you're gonna be around, I look that point down the road and I'm looking at that energy level every day. I'm like, where? That's the one question I never understood. Where does Donald Trump get that stamina, that drive? And some would say he's been doing this since he was a young person, putting the suit on, real estate development, New York City, building up his brand, marketing, you know. And someone asked him recently, he loves what he does. He loves life. He loves people. He feeds off it. So I can see him feeding off it. But I mean, come on. Let's be honest. You're almost 80 years old and you're going Mach 10, like nonstop. It's actually kind of motivational because it makes you think, well, I could do this. I could get a second job. I can actually do this. If he can do that or she can do this. I mean, you look at some people and some people, I don't want to bring up golfers like Gary Player. J-Dog, how old is he? He's got to be into his 80s, almost 90, isn't he? And he does like, have you seen his gym workout? Gary Player, the golfer, he goes to the gym. He's doing like how many chin ups, push ups, sit ups. So my point is, drive's a good thing if we can say nothing else. 80, 89. Wow. All right. Hey, Alex. Yeah. And it'll probably be what? Is it already coming up, J Dog? The big one in Augusta, Georgia. He's always out there in the beginning with Nicholas teeing off. All right. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J Dog on the boards. And also a reminder, go to the pulse7h.com, sign up for our cowboy trip next October, going out west with a group of our listeners, thanks to our friends at Colette Travel on Wednesday, March 5th, which is coming up, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m., B&H Stage, Capital Center for the Arts, B&H Stage, 16 South Main Street in Concord. We're going to have an open, free evening question and answer with the people organizing this trip. If you want to come and ask questions about the details, October 7th, we are going to Yellowstone National Park, going to the Badlands, going to see Mount Rushmore, Grand Teton National Park. We're going to see the buffalo. We're going to go to Jackson Hole. 1 week, great local guides, great local heritage and knowledge, good accommodations, a lot of fun. So check it out. If you have questions or you want to sign up today, thepulse7h.com, 800-581-8942, 800-581-8942. And March 5th, a week from tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Concord, you can show up and just ask questions if you're on the fence and thinking about it. And to me, it's a bucket list type trip because you're going to see it all condensed. A lot of people I've heard from who are going on the trip say, well, I've been to Yellowstone, but I haven't been here. Or I went to Jackson Hole, but I didn't go to Yellowstone. So this is a chance to see it all, the real West, and how the West was formed. I'm looking forward to it. I love Western, so it's to me. I chose the trip. I just think it's a lot of fun. So we're going to see it and believe it and check it out. All right, back on the Pulse of an H in a moment. All right, we are back on a Tuesday, and just it's interesting. I was observing a little bit on public opinion, and a year ago, 2 years ago, in a certain former administration, you might remember it, Biden-Harris administration, because they didn't give a damn about the Southwest border or illegal migrants in American cities or sanctuary cities. You didn't really hear much. The spotlight wasn't put on it. So public opinion may have been split based on your political affiliation on whether you think sanctuary cities should be banned. And today, here we sit towards the end of February today. What a change after November 5th. You know that most Americans, like the vast majority, regardless of party, politics, oppose sanctuary cities. That's why you're not hearing much from Governor Maura Healey in Massachusetts right now. Because, when November 5th happened, she was jumping up and down, pretty upset with the grief counseling, pretty upset, saying she was going to fight. They were going to oppose any attempt by the Trump administration and ICE to come in and snatch or take any of their illegal migrants. She was going to fight them until she didn't. Now she's come around and basically, she's in la la land in Massachusetts, or denial land, saying, oh, we don't really have a big sanctuary city problem here. That's why the second week into this, ICE rounded up how many violent gang members in Boston, illegal migrants, MS-13, the other gang there from Venezuela, one gang member from Haiti, 18 criminal convictions. We're talking murder. We're talking rape. We're talking assault. East Boston, they were roaming around East Boston. They were hanging out in Boston because they knew if they were arrested and they wouldn't be detained, they wouldn't be held, they'd be let back out on the street. No bail, no detention. So Maura Healey's quieted down a little bit because public opinion has changed. How about here in New Hampshire? Wow. Wow, what a change in a year. Wow, what a change. Democrats here a year ago, House, they were pounding their chest and beating their drums saying, "Oh, we're not going to support sanctuary city bans in New Hampshire. We don't even have a problem. It's a Republican manufactured talking point." Wow, what a change. Our entire Democrat delegation now federally voted for the Lake and Riley Act, the same one they opposed a year ago, I think. Maybe except for Chris Pappas, I'm not sure. He's always had a little more common sense. I'll just leave it at that. I'm just looking at the switch on sanctuary cities, complete 180. So I'm looking at now women and men's sports and this whole Governor Mills thing in Maine. Kind of it's very appealing to look at this. The people in the New York Times and sort of the liberal left think that she's becoming a martyr, a hero, standing up. She's one of the few Democrat governors standing up to Donald Trump and his administration, standing up, because she wants to oppose the federal executive order on banning men and boys in girls and women's sports. She wants to fight on that hill. So the far left thinks she's great. 90% of the people think she's crazy on this one. And you know what's funny in Maine? But I can't help you. I really can't. The only people who can help yourselves in Maine. You know what's funny about life? My first TV media job was in the state of Maine. I go back to remembering just first time Governor Brennan, Jock McKernan. I'm looking over the years, and I never really remember Maine as being that blue. It might have been a little more blue in Augusta in the state house, but it was always more of a New Hampshire independent kind of state. And how it's become this liberal blue state, the state of Maine, except for north of Augusta and Portland. That District 2 in northern Maine, or the top half of Maine, a little more normal. Oh, I'm sorry. Those folks who are still woke out there, they don't like the word normal. Might have hurt someone's feelings. So let's just say the folks north of Portland and Augusta, a little more rational. Is that politically acceptable, the term rational in their politics? But when you go south, like Portland South, Cumberland County, oh my goodness. They love Governor Mills. And you know what's going on in Maine that you should care about if you have anyone that lives in Maine, or loved ones, or you do, is your wallets and your pocketbooks. Look at the taxes and look at the budget mess right now. So Governor Mills should be fighting on the Hill of balancing the budget, not raising any taxes like she promised, and tightening the belt of spending in the state of Maine, like Kelly Ayotte is in New Hampshire, like Governor Ayotte is in New Hampshire. She should be looking for more efficient ways to run Maine, not tax the taxpayers, because she promised that she wouldn't raise any taxes. Look at the numbers yourself. Even the Bangor Daily News did an article on this. She even wants to raise taxes on prescription medications. Guess who's on the most prescription medications and have less money to pay? Seniors. Yeah, that's what she wants to do. So instead of like fighting what 90% of the people think is right, banning men and women's sports, 90%, she should maybe focus on her budget and for the taxpayers of Maine. But if Maine continues to want to vote this way, if this is how Maine wants to vote, you get what you deserve. You get what you vote for. You get what you vote for. So that's just some observations on the state of Maine. Here in New Hampshire, it's interesting. I guess Democrats, while they've done a 180 on sanctuary cities, what's going on in schools? Are we still have schools like Manchester Public Schools where faculty are being told that even if the parents request information about their children, they don't have to give the parent information to answer parents' questions? Do you know this? Manchester Public Schools, parents who don't like secrecy policy can take their kids and leave. That's one of the stories out in New Hampshire Journal. We'll have more on this, but I don't know where that mindset came from either, by the way. 8 out of 10 people would say, hey, families are tough. Life is tough, but that's my kid. Although what is the Wisconsin governor wants to change the term from mother? I'm the mom or dad. That offends you. I'm sorry. That's what you are. I'm the mom or dad of this kid. I want to know what's going on with my kid in school. And if I ask a question about my kid in school of a guidance counselor, a principal, a vice principal, or a math teacher, I expect an answer. That's my kid. It's not your kid. That's my kid. It's not your kid. Let me repeat that. That's my kid, not your kid. You don't have a right to not answer my question. I may not like the answer, but you don't have a right to withhold information on my kid. Who the hell who do you think you work for? And I think it's more the administrators that have passed these policies, even here in New Hampshire, school boards and administrators, where parents would show up at meetings and ask commonsensical questions about a quiz about where did systemic racism start in America, and the answer they wanted to give you is the Declaration of Independence. And a parent goes, I have a question about that. You sit down and shut up. You can't ask questions about your kid's curriculum. No, guess what? Mama Bear and Papa Bear have every right to know anything they want about their kids. Their kids, not yours. Their kids, not yours. All right. Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos on deck next.